Well, hello all. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here today at Spice Acres, one of our favorite places in our neck of the woods here in Brecksville, Ohio. It is a farm located in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and we are so excited to be here with you today to be able to not only have a pre-party for Earth Day, but talk a little bit about sustainability in schools as it relates to our wonderful partner, my partner, board partner for Feed Our Future, as well as field manager here at Spice Acres. Our special guest today is going to be talking about fun things like veggie camp. Who doesn't love a good veggie camp? And it's a little sneak preview. I think this is the coolest trick pencil known to man. At the end of this is a plantable seed kit, which I'm just like enamored of. If I would have invented this, I wouldn't be on this call with you, but I'm excited I am. And so we are going to go through our normal kind of overview of the day's events. And those are going to be, number one, our admin roundup. So if we can get over to our today's session slide, we can get over, hold on. I don't know if they, can you hear me? There we are. Admin roundup slide is going to be our Gina Nash this time. So Gina is going to be presenting this time in replace of Sarah for some of our from the news desk report. Tina is going to be with us talking all things KPI. We know we're coming up on the end of the year. We want to end with the beginning in mind always, not only with our menus, but also wrapping up our budget years and being able to really tell the story and work strategically to improve where we need to. We have our Marge with a menu inspiration. Again, we don't want to, end. We want to go out with a blaze of glory this year. So there's lots of cool, exciting, warming weather months opportunities for us to kind of talk about some menu inspiration for the months of coming up already. Can you believe it? May and June for those of you who are still in school. I get the privilege of doing something good today. And then, of course, the ultimate privilege of introducing you to my good friend, Steve Baker. So we're going to let Gina take it away with admin roundup. Gina?
Hi, everybody. We have just some reminders for the end of the school year. Make sure that you're tracking your inventory for the year end and using up any extras that you might have left over. We don't want those sitting through the summer or anything like that. So make sure you're tracking your inventory and using that up. Remember your first in, first out, and to date mark everything. Health inspectors are going to be coming through and making sure that you have your dates on there and that you're rotating your stock around. So make sure that you're following your FIFO and have dates on everything that you have on your shelves and in your refrigerators and freezers. And then for ODE updates and compliance, a lot of you have your SCA funding funds to make sure that you're using those up. They have been added to your accounts. They might not be showing, but we've been told that they have been added. So make sure you're using those up. Don't forget your SFSP or your SSO applications. Get those in so that you can start your process and start planning for what you're going to be doing over the summer as far as feeding students. And then make sure that you're saving your records. We need 3 years plus the current year. So make sure that you're not throwing away stuff that you're going to need for an audit or to look back on. And that's all we've got.
All righty. So our KPI, key performance indicators, we hear all this KPI all the time. So just going to go over a little bit of benefits from taking care of our numbers. And, we say it all the time, know your numbers. So benefits of doing our KPI is you're monitoring your district's health. You're able to solve problems, tackle opportunities, analyze patterns over time, and employee motivation. And this is something that we're going to kind of talk about first, our monitoring district's health. The next slide is, health is wealth. We always talk about that number. We want that money. What's the best way to do it other than tracking your KPI? So you want to track your revenue. You're going to track your profit loss, your staffing, plate costs, participation, all those things you're able to figure out all these with just a few numbers that you're putting in there. So the next thing we want to talk about is solving problems and tackling opportunities. What a better way than looking at numbers? We say put these numbers in these places and then we put them there and we think, why do we do this? What is this for? Here's perfect example. We can come back and look, why is my food cost so high? As you're going through a month, you look at it and man, $15,000 this month. Usually I spend about 4 or 5. What happened? When did we start losing money? As if you're having, you're going to losing money throughout the year, and you go and let's go back and you can go in and look at your numbers and see where that started to happen. What caused December's participation to so low? So we see on our KPI, our participation is low. We can go back and look and see, was there a lot of sickness? Were kids out? Was there a lot of days off, which we always know is in December as is, which is going to make our participation low. And your medical insurance and your fringe benefits, these are numbers that are very important that, if you see an increase in your medical insurance, why? Then we talk to our treasurer, say, hey, what's going on? My numbers are increasing. And believe it or not, that's one of our key performance indicators when we're in the negative. Our benefits kill us in our numbers. So that's one of those things you want to look at. Next one is analyzing patterns over time. And perfect example, this is kind of showing you from year to year, we keep these numbers in track where our peaks and our valleys come in. January's participation always increases after the holidays for some reason. I think parents are done with, packing lunches. Hey, let's just send them out, get them fed. August, we always know is going to start slow. Why is it slow? All the kids got their new lunch boxes, they want to show them all off. So our participation comes in a little slower. April and May, revenue will increase. Just went over this with my treasurer today as we were looking at it, we've had a bunch of changes with between reimbursement totals, the cost of our groceries this year. So a lot of us have been kind of losing money throughout the year. And now we're kind of starting to plateau now, March, April, where, our money's coming in because we're not purchasing as much because we're getting rid of all that extra inventory that we have, getting it off the shelf. So that's why April and May, our revenues always start to increase. And you can go back and look from year to year and see where you fall on that graph. And lastly, we talk about employee motivation. You don't think about this as you look through your KPI, but that is a big benefit to this. By knowing our numbers, if we're increasing and our money, we're sitting on a little bit of extra money, what are some ways we can do this? Let's motivate our employees. Maybe we give them a building or an employee, pizza party or something, or some kind of give them a spa day, because they're doing great. Use an incentive program. We're kind of sitting on some money from COVID still, hopefully the districts are. Why not use some of that money as an incentive? Okay, if your building is increased participation this month, we'll give you all $25. Use it as a benefit, a motivator. Also, it goes on the negative. It holds the managers accountable to their losses. Why is your building down? You're able to look at this. Let's include these managers in our solutions. What's going on? There's a picture of, we had several different districts together, building recipes. These are going to be incentives. These are going to be ways to motivate them, getting together, getting their hands in there and say, how are we going to fix this? Another new piece of equipment, another benefit to they have that extra money. Hey, how many times do we hear, man, I wish I had this, or I wish I had that. Why not use that money that we have there as a motivator to increase, hey, we'll get you that new combi oven since your building's doing so well. So just little things as we know our numbers, and to be able to keep it in there in one spot and open up that KPI and be able to look at your numbers and know it's a great thing. It's, something that is a tool that everyone should use on a daily basis. And as we say all the time, know your numbers. So I'm going to pass it off to Marge.
Great. Thank you, Tina. And happy April, everybody. So, of course, we're always looking for some new ideas, some things to celebrate for the upcoming month of May. And as I see all the green around Maureen, I'm sure she's surrounded by herbs. I know mine are starting to poke through the ground. So May 6th is National Herb Day. And we have a lot of simple recipes that are great ways to introduce to students ways to try herbs in different recipe. I think this would be really fun, even to just have some herbs that students can add to a salad, or making some fresh pico de gallo with some cilantro, getting used to maybe trying some scratch salad dressings that are lower in sodium, having some taste testing with students for those now, when you can promote it as a National Herb Day and get some feedback. Now, those are some things that you might want to try. Also, we have in May is National Asparagus Day. So we're certainly seeing this coming in the grocery store, springtime asparagus. One of my favorite recipes we have for a side salad is our asparagus salad. This could actually be dual purpose because it has some basil in it too. So it would be a great way to introduce a herb, or if you get herbs in to celebrate National Herb Month, you could also use it in this asparagus salad, or just something like a simple roasted asparagus with some Parmesan cheese on it. If you're thinking about those harvest of the month kind of items, this would be something great to try. And then also in May, I'll think of Cinco de Mayo, and the Dick and Jane educational crackers. They really have a lot of great resources, and I will put their link in the chat, but ways that you can use the themes from their variety of crackers that they have. May happens to be National Fitness and Fitness Month. So you could use their physical fitness crackers as a way to celebrate that. Or certain presidents have birthdays, you could use their president crackers. They have a lot of great resources, educational handouts, coloring pages for little ones, that type of thing, that would be great to go along with these kind of products in a really simple way to highlight, special theme days. We also want to put a big shout out. Hopefully you're all aware, coming the week of May 15th, if you are one of our client schools that uses our Healthy Meal Planner Pro database, hopefully you have heard by now that they're transitioning to an updated version. We are scheduled the week of May 15th. We have been sending out our Tech Tip Tuesdays. And so if you haven't been looking at those, we're getting down to the wire, time to know what you need to do. So I would encourage you to look at those. Be aware that that week of May 15th, all of our client schools, and we will have to be out of Healthy Meal Planner Pro for that week. So if you do production records, if you print production records, if you need recipes, any of the things that you would go into Healthy Meal Planner Pro for, you're going to want to print those production records out for that week. If you do online production records, you're going to want to make sure that all of your data that you have is put in before that week. You will be able to view Healthy Meal Planner Pro, just view it afterwards. You do that week of May 15th. I'll say from school menus, that's changed today. That is still available. Families will still get to look at the menus through the My School Menus app or the website. So that is available. It's just the Healthy Meal Planner Pro part that's going through the transition. In that Tuesday, we put a lot of opportunities to do trainings to learn about the new system. Healthy Meal Planner Pro is offering a lot of opportunities. We've been taking advantage of those ourselves to learn the system. And then we are also going to be offering some just drop-in sessions with you. Dates. First one, I believe, is next Friday, where we'll do a couple of dates. Next Friday, there's some other dates on that Tuesday, where we'll show you what it's going to look like that time you log in. It's going to look different, but where you go to find those shopping lists, those production records, and we'll talk about that so you're not overwhelmed when you first log in that first time. We'll also be offering those sessions again after the Healthy Meal Planner Pro goes live, after that migration. So be looking for all that information coming out so that everybody stays informed, and we're here to help you, guide you along that migration. And of course, support tickets. As we get to the end of the year and you're thinking about using up inventory, we're always wanting people to be transparent with what they're serving. So if you have items on your menu you're not serving, but you're getting rid of some inventory, let us know so that we can update your menus so that people know what they're getting, and if they need nutrition information, allergen information, that's available to them. And of course, this is that time of year too where we are already starting to think about next year's menus. So if you require our support to help set up your menus for next year, hopefully you're reaching out to us. I know we're reaching out to all of our clients just to get a plan to make sure that happens in a timely fashion for everybody, so that you can be all set when you come back in the fall for your menus for next year. So I am going to pass it to Maureen to talk about the favorite part, caught doing something good.
Thank you, Marge. Can you guys hear me pretty well? I hope so.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. I know, Marge, you were cutting in and out a little bit, and it was so funny because it was like that to-do list for Healthy Meal Planner Pro. So have no worries if you did hear a little audio trouble. I was thinking it was me out here in this glamorous field and garden, which I'll take a little bit of auditory trouble for being able to be outside. But if you did have a trouble hearing, don't worry. We will put all of this in a recap. The links for the dates for the Healthy Meal Planner Pro trainings, as well as follow-up notes, always go out after today's session. So if you have any questions relative to that content and any worries about the V3 migration, it sounds very intimidating. It's really not. We're here to help you. So I get to do caught doing something good, which is always my favorite segment. And so I think we're going to start off with, whenever I had my worst days in doing what we do, which is very few, I will say, I am very passionate about what we do. This is one of my favorite things, is the littlest of littles being exposed to the food that we do. And I recently was just tooling around on social media, and a school, I sent this article to my team, a school did a Flavor Fest, and they called it Flavor Fest instead of Try Day. So now all of a sudden I'm thinking, why didn't I think of that? So I think we should rename for 2022, 23 going into 23, 24 Try Days as Flavor Fest, and really start as young as these wonderful little babies and our Head Start Lorain County community, who are blessed to have Marge lead all of these wonderful opportunities, not only for them, but to expose their parents to new recipes. So we've always kind of highlighted our out of the box training, which is the training that we do to really get these Head Start parents engaged with us around really trying new foods and cooking together as a family. So obviously our cookbook does that. We still are really excited about that cookbook, and we'll drop a link in to you to sign up for the pre-order of that as well in our chat. But I really want to thank Marge for the work she does. They tried couscous, and why not? And they thought it was pretty good. So there's lots of thumbs ups going on for our littles out there in Lorain County Head Start, starting at couscous. So maybe a little bit of a stalker on all things School Meals That Rock, and probably some other sites like Joe Urban and Greenville, South Carolina. But this really struck me as, wow, what a cool way for those of us who went away from salad bars that had salad as a predominant focus and toppings and have done more produce bars. I've heard from several of our clients, we put them in the shelf and we do entree salads, but kids really like the idea of like a MTO or made to order salad or build your own concept. And so I've been seeing a lot of posts about this, and I thought, what a cool way to lighten up using spring harvest items, but making it the main focus. So many of us call it our cafe of the day or our main line. This is one example that I saw that I thought was really kind of a cool example of lightening up your menu with a spring build your own chef salad. I've also seen this in a Caesar salad presentation. Tina would say, if you're being smart about your KPI, you could do it the day after your tacos and have like a Tex-Mex salad bar day or some combination of all of those. But basically, it's very similar to what we do if you could envision our pasta bars or our taco bars. You start with the base being your greens. And so we have looked at our local SCA funds that will allow you to buy the garden, Creation Garden hydroponic lettuces that can come to us on our local bid. Start off with that. Tell that story. Number one, don't let that be a secret. Tell them that you're utilizing this great local lettuce and it's nutritive and fresh and certainly supporting our local economy as a way to celebrate spring and all things April and Earth Day and Earth Month, really. But also just kind of cool way to use up those tidbits. So, we talk about no cook's choice. And that's a lot of reasons around no cook's choice. And part of it is, I think people think they're getting the leftovers of the deal, number one. So it's a marketing thing. Number two, I think a lot of our families rely on us for allergy management, attribute management, carbohydrate content management. So help us help you. But what a good way to be creative. Dip your toe into that local lettuce if you haven't already done it, or put it back out as a main feature if you've gone away from that practice, and build yourself some really cool salad bars. And if you do, please send us pictures, because you definitely will be in May caught doing something good. The next slide, I think, I always give a nod to the place that I started. Our little Eastwoods Elementary in Hudson, just a little something extra to boost participation. It's this, most kids love brunch for lunch, but who wouldn't love a better brunch for lunch when you have the bells and whistles of a berry compote on top of your waffle? So this was just one way that I wanted to really just say, it doesn't always take a monumental change to your menu. It takes maybe a little shift in your creativity, a little extra of what you put out, and a little wow and pizzazz on how you want it to plate it and make it look impressive. And I will tell you, the numbers happen. The boost of participation on days where those little extra cares are taken is really just something I want to highlight again for Eastwood Elementary and our team there at Hudson City Schools, but also just all of you who are thinking a little bit differently and trying to wow with presentation and trayscapes. We started the school year talking about, kids eat with their eyes first, and the colorful amount of vegetables and fruits that you can add, even stealthy. This is still looks like a very fun, no one would say anything bad about this kind of brunch for lunch day, but getting in those extra fruits on top of the waffle and just making it look fun and creative. We just want to give them a shout out. Certainly, I will say Plain Local, first place recipe at SNA, their breakfast biscuit bomb. Say that fast three times. Breakfast biscuit bomb. So we love our Plain Local family and wanted to showcase their award-winning Glenwood Intermediate team and their recipe win. We always love a good recipe concept and a recipe competition. So kudos to you over there in Plain, and Jen and your wonderful team. All right. And now it's time. I am so thrilled. I talked a little bit, I don't know if you were on with me early. I am like surrounded by amazing things like seeds and pencils, a potential veggie camp. But more importantly, I'm surrounded by a really good guy and friend. I consider him kind of a sustainability garden brother, if you will. He lives down the road in his fine little office here, which I'm sharing with him today. I want to introduce to you.
Hi, everybody.
My friend Steve Baker. So we are here at Spice Acres, and I'm going to stop and just let Steve take over, because every time I get a chance to chat with him, I learn so much. I'm super pumped about the opportunity to engage around the work we do for Feed Our Future.
Absolutely.
So we are kind of buddies on a committee, right? So
Absolutely.
We're the education committee. And so we talk about recipes and we talk about curriculum and engaging with schools. And I just wanted to take this time to honor the fact that it is Earth Day on Saturday, but every day is kind of Earth Day out here. It's kind of earthy. I like it. So without further ado, I'm going to give it over to you and talk to our friends here.
Well, thanks for having me, everybody. I appreciate this so much. So excited to have you all join us out here at Spice Acres, our 13-acre farm in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. So this is just a little bit of our world out here, and what we're doing is our big educational push for letting people know about the community food system and connecting themselves back to where food comes from. Just a little bit about my background. You can see I've been an educator for 21 years. It was about 5 years ago that I traded in my classroom for this classroom. And of course, all the other classrooms that I work on. So we have about 7 school partners that we work with, and we have 6 school gardens. We started with one in Pleasant Valley Elementary School, which is a Parma school, and we have grown from there. So beyond the ones that we have here, we also take our programming directly into the classroom. So I've been a garden and community food system educator, big fitness advocate. I do love to travel, and I teach folks about where food comes from. But we always talk about the fact that I can give you a butternut squash, but if you don't know what to do with it, you're going to end up composting it or throwing it in the garbage anyways. So we chose people not only how to grow food, but what to do with that food once it's been grown. So this is what we do out here. I mean, we try to, letting folks know and increase their knowledge about, nutrition and all types of seasonal fruits and vegetables, and just becoming more environmental responsible. And we know through research and other things what this does for folks, not only kids, but adults. So we like to joke around and say all of our programming is for folks kindergarten through kindergarten through retirement. So when we talk about, most of our programming revolves around the idea of a community food system. And that community food system, it kind of takes everything from food being produced all the way to the disposal of it. And what we know is that when you support your community food system, you are enhancing the place in which you live in your particular region. And there are a lot of partners out there, just like us, that are doing very similar, awesome work. So when you explore your community food system, this is what's happening. You can do all kinds of fun things like be a part of a CSA. And if you're not familiar with the CSA, you can look up what community supported agriculture is, or essentially a farm share, which is you're buying a portion of a farm or a food provider, and you'll get your weekly or bi-weekly bag of food that comes from a local producer. Or if you really want to get in there, you can do something like Perfectly Imperfect and, take some seconds off the shelves that normally would end up in a landfill anyways. My most important thing that I like to teach everybody is how easy it is to DIY with a home garden or a school garden. You can do this yourself. That's the most important thing that we teach all of our kids and anybody that comes out here. So we're going to talk about different ways that you can implement a home garden or a school garden with the rest of this presentation. But if you can't do all that, you can always just visit a farmer's market, or as always, buy local when you can, as much as you can, and then support the human capital in your community, which means that not just purchasing from local producers, but even when you're in the store, every time you decide to go to a cashier instead of that automated checkout thing, you're supporting the human capital in your community. So what we do, not only do we have our programming here on the farm and in the classroom, but we provided this awesome curriculum for teachers and families to utilize, which will help you kind of immerse yourself in your community food system. It was developed with Pisanic Partners and Feed Our Future, put together by Muse Content Group. And a lot of that funding for this particular curriculum came from the USDA. It was a grant that was funded. So we call this Local Lessons for Growing Minds, and we have 10 lessons in there that will take you through seasonal agriculture, as well as highlighting a lot of local producers in our region. And you can see here, we have highlighted on this slide, essentially what is provided on our curriculum. And it is pretty comprehensive. So you'll have everything from objectives to everything the teacher or family needs for preparation. It has the activities, recipes, big thought questions that you can ask. All of these things are included in this, and yes, free curriculum. And you can see all that.
I love this. First of all, it was a great partnership. And so part of what we did with this was we helped with these local recipes. But what I think I love about this and Local Lessons and Feed Our Future is I think a lot of the folks on the call are like, I'm just the food service director. I just have control over what's in my cafeteria. But the reality is you don't. You have the opportunity to make the cafeteria an extension of the classroom. And that's what we're talking
Absolutely
about.
right.
And so these recipes that go along with these lessons, it's not something that you have to say, okay, I'm going to do it, but making those simple introductions to your health teachers,
Mhm.
to your, sometimes even PE teachers like to do, think outside of the box and do
Absolutely.
extra product. The one thing I love about gardening is it's really math and science forward. So you have a lot of STEM activities.
Oh, I mean, everything we say is everything we do is STEM based. And I was just doing this lesson with students the other day when I was talking about crop planting in general for the year. And I was letting students just kind of engage in the activities that we do every single day here, because we can't get away from it. The measurements, the math, multiplication, addition, everything from figuring out how much bed space we have to how many plants will be in that bed to how much those plants will yield are the calculations we have to do all the time. So these kids get to kind of experience that along with tasting really great and amazing things. And we know that when students have stake in their garden space, when they grow it, they've seen it growing outside, they're more likely to try new stuff, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. So we have that. If you go back one slide, Dave, the local lessons for growing mind link here. I think Marge is doing a great job of dropping these in. But if you have any questions, this is something that you could pass on your My School menu, like on the side as like a,
Sure.
hey, celebrate for sign up for this. I don't think it has a timestamp. It's a curriculum that you follow week to week. So this would be it let us help you knock on the door of your wellness committee. Yes, that thing should still be existing. Had stakeholders. You should have had a meeting or two this year. If you haven't, this would be a good present to bring to that wellness committee table and say, I found a free curriculum for you to use that would make a nice connection between nutrition, the cafeteria, what we're trying to do with our produce and our local foods, as well as honoring learning. And I think Steve, has his foot really well grounded in the garden, obviously, but also in the side of really making a curriculum that teachers are going to love, that becomes a turnkey resource. So it'd be really hard for a teacher to say, no, it's too much work, because the work's all done.
It's already there for you. I mean, and it's all geared for K-5, and we have these set up in grade bands. And, as teachers do, you're going to see what's available for you and you're going to make it your own. So please, it's free, sign up, have it. You don't even have to go in order. You can jump around any way that you want with our curriculum, whatever best suits what you need for your classroom.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
All right, onwards. Let's see
So
what else.
talk
What
about-
else do we have?
Dude, it's the DIY stuff. Come on, it's what we talk about. We're going to talk about building your own garden space or expanding your garden. Now, this can be at home or in your classroom, because one of the things we do here at Spice Field Kitchen is really emphasizing that connection to having that garden space in and around your classroom. Because it really, like I said, really helps students engage in the process of growing food. It helps them see where it comes from. We always like to joke around that, it actually just happened to me the other day. I had a student that was not aware that French fries were potatoes. So when we talk about this curriculum, and we talk about having this type of experience in your school garden, home garden, community garden, wherever it is, coming here, you're really getting that new connection to food. So when we talk about expanding your garden, next slide will typically tell you why garden in the first place. I mean, because essentially it's going to provide you so many positive benefits. I mean, when we talk about the satisfaction of growing in that space, seeing things grow is always there. But having that there always forces you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. And we've seen it happen with the kiddos, and we see it in the slides, because those slides you see there are students that have participated in our gardening programs in schools around the area. And sometimes eating things they've never seen before. For example, the ladies in this photo that you see on there, they're eating nasturtiums for the first time. That wonderful edible flower. It's really spicy. It's really great, and the kids tend to love it. And so they were enjoying that for the very first time.
There's nothing like picking a nice little cherry tomato that's warm from the sun off the vine. Nothing tastes the same. And I will say, I think people they shy away. So we've had some schools that will do tower gardens. So they'll get tower gardens and they do some harvesting. We have Natalie Winkle at Boardman right now posting some really cool things that she's able to harvest some of her own greens and use them in her program. So shout out to Natalie for investing in that. I know a number of folks have started that, but I think it's also the fear of starting. The fear of starting and seeing the space that kind of prohibits folks from doing that. So talk to us a little bit about that. I think the next slide says, considering it, understanding your space and choosing where you're going with it and making your map.
Well, absolutely. So that's what you want to do. You want to decide what and how you're going to use that space for your best benefit, either for your students or your family. Understand where it grows. And when I do these kind of consultations with folks, I always ask, okay, so where's your position? How many trees are around you? How much sun exposure do you have? Because folks don't tend to think about it when you do establish that garden. Every year, not only do your plants grow, but every year the trees around your garden grow. So your shade is going to change while you, establish this garden space. So you think about your gardening goals. Do you just want to eat for yourself? Are you trying to harvest and sell things? Whatever it may be, are you utilizing this stuff for your school space? These are what you want to consider when you're putting together your garden space. And once you have that, next thing you're going to worry about is choosing your seeds. You want to decide what you want to grow. Do you just like your summertime items, your cucumbers, your peppers, your tomatoes? Or do you want to utilize the full growing season here in Northeast Ohio, where you can grow literally from March all the way through November, and with the proper techniques, you can even grow throughout the wintertime. So I just put this up there as a resource, and you can see the hardiness zones like where we live, so you can get an idea of what types of plants will grow in your region. So once you have that, you got to make a map. And once you make a map of your area, and the next slide will kind of give you an example of the maps that we use. One is just borrowed a square foot gardening map just to show you how much you can fit in a square foot once you're planning this out with your map. Matter of fact, the largest map you see on that particular slide is where we're sitting right now, inside our learning garden. And then, of course, the smaller one on the bottom left-hand corner would be the map that we put together for Pleasant Valley Elementary. We retooled it so that we can have spaces for the classrooms, spaces for activities, as well as providing production spaces so that we can feed their salad bar in their cafeteria. Now, you're never going to be able to feed enough, and it's 800 kids. You're not going to be able to do that with everything you grow there, but you can highlight these things that are grown, and the kids are more likely to eat those things. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. And I just saw Jen pop on. Jen Hirsch does wonderful tower gardens down there too, in all her spare time, because she is like a busy mama down there, literally, and as a food service director. So nice to see you on with us today. I will say a lot of times, we'd say it takes a village. And I love the idea that you're showing some of the school garden projects you've been a part of. Can you talk to us a little bit about how those schools have engaged with you and how they funded their projects? Just short tips in case you are interested, because when I see this, I think how cool, but I also think there are schools that maybe have a positive fund balance. They're looking how to spend, and they're thinking of creative ways to use a spend down plan.
Sure.
This is one way. And the others are also these wonderful grants that are out there. So,
yep. So for our first ones, like Pleasant Valley Elementary, we went and through the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation. They've been gracious enough to fund the development of their garden space, as well as our in-class programming that we do. We started 4 years ago at Pleasant Valley with first grade STEM students, and now we have first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. Every year we're adding new STEM groups to now we have the entire STEM program from first through fourth grade, and hopefully next year we'll look to expanding to the fifth grade so that we can keep these kids. So sometimes it's grant funded through private private organizations. Sometimes it's government funded through grants. Some schools do have, like you were saying, have the positive budget, and they're able to actually afford the programming flat out through their budgets. So this is the ways that we've been able to kind of spread our programming through the schools in the area.
I'm just walking around the garden, pay no attention. No, I'm trying to make sure our technology stays on. I love our ability to pivot and be on the scenes, but you guys know me and my technology challenges. So we're running on a battery that I hope allows us to stay with you, but we have a couple more slides to go through and just some cool stuff.
Plenty of time.
So techniques to consider. Let's talk some techniques, because I like to drive in my lane. So if you want to ask me about nutrition and recipes, I'm your girl. But when you talk about gardening, I just told Steve, who had this great idea to have like some really cool covers on this little hoop over here because he's growing some early spring crops. And I said, yeah, that would have been good to know about my pansies that I planted for Easter that were consumed by the deers who are still out and about in our little Brecksville area, loving every little new greenery and or delicacy. My husband calls them the salad bars I like to create for the deer in our area. But let's talk about techniques to consider your planning and this could be personal. So one other thing about this presentation, when I talked to Steve about giving it, is we all want to inspire you to do the work. We all work in schools, but I feel like it really means something when you practice what you preach and you live it at home. And I know a lot of us foodies in schools are also like avid gardeners in the summer. So these are really cool tips, personal and for schoolwork.
Absolutely, because as much as I take care of all these garden spaces around the area, I still have mine at home. And I utilize all of these things as well. So the big two that we will talk about is just companion planting and succession planting. And your companion planting is simply understand is that you can take plants that grow really well together. And there's lists out there that you can access and they'll show you all these wonderful things. I have this coin up here because just to show you how old this idea is. As a matter of fact, it's been printed on coins for us, which is the idea of three sisters growing corn, squash, and beans together. It's something that native cultures have been doing for a very long time. And it's something we like to do even here and show those kids to give them a little bit of a cultural perspective on it. But it helps with the biodiversity of your garden space and it helps you save space. It does so many great things. Some of the stuff that people, when they come to this garden, they'll notice that oftentimes my tomatoes are growing with something called borage. It's an herb. It's also an edible flower. Tastes a little bit like cucumber. But the beautiful part about borage is that it enhances the flavor of your tomatoes. So when you're growing them side by side, you can have, as the pollinators move from the borage to the tomatoes, with that pollen, you'll have that enhancement of flavor. That's what I think is pretty cool. And so you can grow more varieties in your area. The succession planting part is just growing things in smaller intervals so that you can have more stuff that's harvestable throughout your season. And I'll use greens or spinach as an example. If you have an area in which you're going to grow your greens or your spinach, choose only a small portion of that area to plant first. Wait a week, plant another row. Wait a week, plant another row. So that as you, instead of having all of your lettuce come in at one time, you're going to have your first rows of lettuce come through. You can harvest those things and then you'll have your next row and then your next row after that. And when you've harvested out your first row, weed it out, clear that bed, plant in behind it. So you'll constantly have this flush of awesome produce that you can utilize. Instead of having like too much at one time, you can utilize that. So it kind of just extends your window for harvestable goods.
That is amazing. It's so common sense that you don't think of, because I'm that girl that like has the bounty and then I'm like trying to figure out how to make it into sustainable recipes, which is another way. Sure. You know, you never want to let things go to waste. And we have lots of upcycled recipes for like, you know, Simply Fresh when it's ready to go right then. And then what do you do when it's a little bit past its prime? But that's even smarter. Work smarter, not harder. I love that.
Sure. I mean, but you know, being able to do ferments and canning, all the ways that you can preserve these things is also a huge part of this whole thing.
Great.
As got some examples that we have here, which is, I told you I have my own garden. Well, there's mine. It's the upper right-hand corner. And I also have little hoops in order to cover my stuff when it gets colder so that I can grow in those shoulder seasons here in Northeast Ohio. So you can do raised beds and you don't have to use wood. You can use whatever you have. You can see there's a good example of a cinder block raised bed that's right there. Very durable. Absolutely. Your next one you can do is something like a window box. If you don't have the space outside, you can do this in generally a good south facing window so that you're going to get good sun throughout the day. Works just well, super great. And I was hearing earlier about the idea of having herbs available so that you can just kind of spice up whatever dish you're doing. Maybe you're doing, like you mentioned earlier, a salad dressing. Mm-hmm. You can just have access to that, and it encourages you to use like fresh herbs and things like that in your cooking.
Pizza pots, salsa pots.
Absolutely.
Love this idea for that.
I think it's really, really great. And there's some things that you can grow inside. You know, if it's something like a pea, you can even get away with growing that inside in a pot. If you got potatoes, you can grow that inside. And we actually have a great video when you look at our potato section in the local lessons for growing minds, where we talk about potatoes in a bucket. They don't need pollinators to grow those potatoes. You can do that right inside. All you need is a good window or light. Or if you really like your microgreens, you can do a countertop sprout. And that only takes what, 4 or 5 days to go from seed to super nutritious, super flavorful sprouts that you can add to a salad, a sandwich, or anything along those lines. It's super easy. And there's varieties of different types of sprouts that you can use, from radishes, kale, you name it. Mung beans, you can go to town.
And how about tray-scaping with sprouts? That is like a fun, that looks very gourmet. A sprout topped dish to
Oh,
like
yeah,
finish it
absolutely.
looks amazingly gourmet. So lots of fun. I know some of the younger kids might get a little freaked out, but that's a good Flavor Fest try. Like trying some fresh sprouts on top of something to kind of give them that exposure and talk about what a superfood is. That sounds like a really
Really great.
fun
Sprouts and
neck-
microgreens.
I got a
and where's
lesson.
that?
I got a lesson working up in here. We got to get that going.
If you can get around with it, trap as much water as you can. We like to talk about utilizing rain barrels, and right now you can see where we're at. Right beyond the camera are all the rain barrels I have here. This is something that's really close and personal to us here on this farm, because we have so much water issue. If you come to Spice Acres, you'll notice doesn't matter which direction you come, you're coming up the hill. So as you're sitting on this farm, you're sitting on top of the hill. Property that is 95% sand, which means that when our water hits, it rolls off to one side, which is the Cuyahoga River, and a creek on the other. So water is a really big issue for us here. We often run out of water by middle of July. So trapping as much water as we can on the property is really vital for the success of this farm. It's sustainable, it saves you money, and it's also great alternative to using your city water and raising your water bill, especially when the cost of everything's going up nowadays, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Composting. Come on, you got to deal with some of your food scraps. It's not just about growing it, but what you do with it when it's done. Because you're ultimately taking all those things and turning it into nutrient-dense soil so that you can grow more food next year with your scraps. So we have compost piles in every one of our school gardens, and we just show the kids the process. Now, the idea of composting at a school is a tricky one, because you got a lot of food, that can go into that compost. So training people on what to put into those compost piles and what not to put into the compost piles is a big deal. And you also have to have enough space in your compost pile to accommodate for all of that. But if you're doing it at home, or if you're doing it at school, you can just do it in a small, manageable way, and you can really see it. It does not take long. If you're working that compost pile, you can turn it over in a matter of weeks to months, which is pretty cool.
Very cool. Also, partnerships we've had in the area, Rust Belt Riders is still around in some regards.
That's the picture you see right there. That's those fellas right there.
So you don't have to be an expert in gardening, and you don't have to be an expert in composting. You just got to know a guy or a couple of guys.
Sure.
And they're good guys too. And I think
Absolutely.
that there are opportunities. Again, we have some schools with some positive funds that want to do some investment in what their mission is. And this is a really good thinking process right now. We talk about ending with the beginning in mind. What is your mission? What do you want to see your hard work through COVID and all the what you have in your positive fund balance be reinvested in your program to make it honor a mission, like honoring local, honoring sustainability? These are great ideas to kind of think over as you kind of think about what next steps you can take in your own programs to develop these types of communities within the reach you have in your school community. So I love this idea.
Absolutely. I mean, ripples in a pond. You don't know how far those things are going to go with teaching young folks these new skills and things like that in their schools.
Yeah, I just love it. I love it. What else are we going to talk about? I think, if you're not somebody that's a gardener, or if you maybe travel in the summer, or your kids are busy in sports, we talk about there's lots going on in Northeast Ohio that's rich. So why don't we look at a farmer's market? So the next slide, I think, here shows us a talk about how all of the local connections kind of come together. And this makes it really convenient, because it's almost like the same concept of a hub that we do for our local school purchasing, but it comes to you in different areas, but many around our area.
Absolutely. And nowadays it seems like it's hard pressed to not find a farmer's market close to you on any given weekend. But now you realize that you can find it almost every day of the week. So you can check out the website and your resources here, and you can find that if you can see a farmer's market that's in your area, pretty close. in the weekends, you have, if you're down here in the valley, you have the Countryside Conservancy, as well as if you're up in different areas around northern part, Shaker Square Farmers Market that's run by North Union. That one I'm a little bit partial to, mostly because I sold burritos there for 11 years or something along the lines.
Your roots
exactly.
are
So
deep
spending a
there.
lot of time out there in the farmers markets, and what you can look for this year are these spring and summer items that are just coming your way. We say right now we already have asparagus coming up. That warm snap of 80 a couple days ago has really kind of jump started the soil and allowed our asparagus to kind of really hit off. So asparagus is coming in both here and our school gardens, which is really exciting. We got peas in the ground, carrots in the ground, turnips, radishes, all those great, wonderful spring things like spinach as well with your lettuces all coming up. And everybody's getting excited about the summertime season where we're going to start getting our berries are coming in, first strawberries, and then we'll start hitting off with the blueberries and the raspberries and move us through the year. So these are just some of the fun, awesome seasonal items you get to look forward to.
I'm a super pumped because I think some people that are ready to be done with school and goes away for summer, maybe don't do summer feeding at their school site, kind of miss a good window of when it's like the bountiful season, right? But it started early. And I think I just want to remind folks that you know, April and May, there are some really good local opportunities. So don't think that you can't qualify to get some of these cool new seasonal items. There's a lot of spring crops. And as mentioned, we had a little bit of a early start to our summer heat. So we might see more. So check out that local catalog at Creation Gardens for what's in season. And really, I would definitely encourage all of us to kind of think about ways we can do fun things. But talking about summer, you know what I just said, I'm excited for summer. I'm also excited about trying to get my 10-year-old to come to something really cool here on the Spice Acres farm. Well, my almost 10-year-old, she turns 10 on Friday. So I'm so excited, but tell me a little bit about Veggie Adventure. Do you have an adult version? Because I think
you're not the first person even to ask that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Veggie Adventure Camp. I mean, we've had groups and schools come out here every summer for years. This is the first time that we decided to open it up to families to be able to just enroll their child and to come out and hang with us for an entire week. So what we have in store is essentially doing what we do in any daily program, but we're going to do it throughout the week. So the students are going to be helping in the garden from starting plants, doing the succession and the companion planting techniques that we were just talking about, harvesting these fresh items that are available at that time, and then cooking demos as well as arts and crafts out here, and just spending time outdoors and enjoying nature. And then everything that we have to offer during the season, which is really cool, is that Veggie Adventure Camp is changing week to week because it changes with the season. If you're coming in late June, as you're starting to hit off with blueberries, but you come in August, the blueberries are going to be gone, but man, is it going to be hit for tomatoes and peppers. So it's really great is that week to week, it's not even the same items that are going to be highlighted here in our Veggie Adventure Camp. So you can check us out. You can go to our website, spicefieldkitchen.org, and you can click on Veggie Adventure Camp from there and register and things along those lines. Or you can scan the QR code if you check out the slideshow after this.
So this is a fun thing to put in your newsletters. I know we all are going to be doing our summer feeding announcements. So I think this is a great way to like also just, you know, put out some really good information to families for access to information about nutrition and school gardens and gardening and just being a part of what we all want them to immerse in. So I think you have one final note. And I also want you guys to all follow his really cool social media because these videos from the field, I just love them. I kind of stalk you, but it's kind of fun.
All right. Well, I'm glad somebody's out there watching it. It makes me feel good that it's out there. No, as a final note, it's just that you hear a lot about what we do out here. Spice Field Kitchen is our nonprofit organization that works with educating folks in the area. But we got other things that we do out there in the region as well. I mean, we have lots of for-profit businesses that you can see, Spice Acres being one of them. So if you want to, you know, interested in knowing more, seeing more, tasting more, just take a look at us at spicefieldkitchen.org.
And Jackie Biebenroth is another board member for Feed Our Future.
Absolutely.
And her husband, Ben, are, you know, just really cool people. And they're local business folk that are entrepreneurs and really care about the communities we all live and serve. So thanks to the Beaver Roths for having us on their space, in their
Sure,
space today.
absolutely.
And to you, Steve, I'm going to wrap up with some additional resources, but we are just thrilled to be here today, and I'm going to open it up for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for Steve, put them in the chat as I go through these resources, and we'll try to end on a couple questions. If not, you have the contact to email and get information. And again, a post kind of video of this and resources will be sent out in case you missed anything. So no worries. All right, so gone to the additional resources. What we have right now are just a couple of things. So there are some new school menu boards. I had some people say, hey, I don't really want to quite go digital, but I have money to spend. What is cool? These are kind of jazzy. I know
those are nice.
Kim from Hudson and I were looking at these, and they just kind of look fun. So if you need a little light in your life and in your cafeteria, these kind of have some kind of neon fun graphics, and they're right on. So they're a little less technical if you've avoided going the route of having something a little more technical. If you're looking at healthing up your ice cream selection, just wanted to kind of throw this out there. From my friend Holly McGarry, I did get an email just this morning. I'm sure many of you did. Many of you started the Flex Frost program, or the X Frost program, if you will. And that next slide is just a reminder that there are some wonderful flavors. I think my daughter's favorite is the mint chip, believe it or not. So she is a little savvy ice cream consumer. But these X Frost ice creams, if you have them, just so you know, the content is nutrition dense, high protein, low impact on sugar, meets all your box checks, like no nuts for those folks that are worried about having products that are delicious treats that meet some of these attributes. So just wanted to remind you, if you're thinking about changing up or reinvesting, dusting maybe off that X Frost cooler if you had it away for winter as these weather months are getting warmer. A couple of resources that I wanted to bring to your attention that I signed up for. So, I would love your company. No Kid Hungry has been doing some really good content, and their inspirational content around how to really engage and spread the word about summer feeding has really inspired me to really reach out and learn a little bit more about what we can do. I know in our region, we have the best of the best example with Kelly Minnick and her lunchbox out in Paynesville. I swear to you, I think that woman was revolutionary in all that she was doing way back then. And still is. And so, but this does highlight across the nation ways that we are working with intriguing our kids to be with us in the summer. And so I thought this was a good one for you to check out if you're a summer feeding site, or even if you just want to learn more about it. The next one is our ICN STAR webinar. We are, again, so proud of the cookbook. I know that link will go out. But really, we just really want to engage folks into feeling empowered on scratch cooking. And so ICN, like many of us, want to provide you resources to help you get there. And this is one that I think is a good one. Our team has signed up for the April STAR webinar, which talks all about things increasing your scratch cooking, which again is going to be produce forward. So we love it for local and gardens and everything we talked about today. If you didn't see the Sandblast, speaking of ICN, I and my friend, if you all remember, Shannon Fitzgerald is our former Avon Lake nutrition director that kind of has morphed into a new career with ICN. She has called upon her Northeast posse to give her some feedback. Her and a colleague have created a new reimbursable meals training, and Amy Voigt from Brecksville is willing to help host us here. And we're calling all menu planners and directors to come to the Brecksville Middle School on June 14th. I know you all are going to be ready for summer, but give me one more day, 4 hours. I'll make it fun. They are going to ask me to engage with you in this curriculum and get some feedback so that it can become a resource to use for trainings for the future. So if you're interested, please contact myself or Amy Voigt, and we'll get you on the list for that special day. Speaking of special days, I'm so excited. I know that this went out kind of as like a soft launch, but we are doing our back to school reimagine. So I'm out here in this field of beautiful garden and inspired by what we did at the summit, which again, David is on this call and he said, Maureen, you were crazy. That was like having a wedding. It was a 2-day event out in Oberlin. For those of you who remember that, one of my favorite legacy pieces. But through the last couple of years, what it has inspired me to do is think a little bit differently about our back to school boot camp, which we are reinventing this year to be an even better and more improved service for you all. And it's called our Innovation Academy. So if you haven't seen, please save the date, August the 8th, Tuesday. It will be a minimum of 6 hours of wonderfully excited inventive, innovative food and training to get your school year started. So don't leave without signing up. We will have some early bird discounts, registration coming out in early May. So make sure you log in, register early so you can get that discounted rate, and join us over at our Innovation Academy on August 8th. Super excited about that. Now we're right up at the hour, but I don't know if we have any questions in the queue that we saw. If anybody wants to come off a mute, I know Steve's going to try to take a look here.
Boom. I say, what's the best way to keep deer away from a garden?
Oh, deer away from a garden. Well, I already talked about my pansies, my poor pansies.
Oh man, that's a tricky one. I mean, granted fence, we have a large fence around the entire property that they'll jump over. We have electric fence that doesn't much keep them out. So our best strategy that we have is, we like to say, plant a third more, and just keep in mind that they're out there.
All right, so that's a great question. I mean, I think in all, it's the effort to get in the ground and to see things take root and grow, including the wonderful village of folks that come and join us on these What's Up Wednesdays. We appreciate your time today. If there's any other follow-up questions, we'll answer them in the recap email. And we thank you here from the field, Spice Acres. Have a good April and Earth Day. Bye, guys.
Happy Earth Day.